one thing we see a good bit of with guys that have arm action problems, late arm, whatever you want to call it, is the initial point of handbrake. They start by turning their hand and sort of facing the ball more towards second base, and that causes the shoulder to internally rotate. So once we do that, we send our arm on a path of leading with the elbow and then getting an internal rotation. So from an anatomical terms or line of thinking here, we're rotating the shoulder in and trying to abduct, which leads to an impingement more or less, especially of like something like the biceps tendon. So we're rolling over, compressing that area, and then lifting and rotating and further compressing that area, which is an impingement. So we want to stay away from that. We want to let the arm flow a little more freely. You can do that right and time it up and flip it, and everything's fine, it's synced up, and you can throw years pain-free. But when we're dealing with more of like the average high school pitcher, they probably don't have that type of natural athletic ability, and or they're limiting their potential one way or the other, or potentially setting themselves up for injury. So what we want to do with that is have the athlete feel like they're separating, almost like they're throwing like a curveball, separating in a curveball position. So one thing we can do is just sit here and work on feeling the arm break, creating a little bit of a circle here, and having more of like a curveball grip. We're in a neutral wrist position here, and we're not pronated in right out of the get-go. So we're not breaking and going to pronation, we're staying more in a neutral grip. It's a great feel, it's a great idea. Obviously, we want to get away from feels more towards constraint drills as we become more dynamic to try to fix this. So pivot pick-offs are great for this. It's what we use a lot to address a feeling the hand break in a neutral manner, and then come back and keeping the elbow below the shoulder pretty much the whole time until we start coming forward with the arm action. This should also help us sit back in more external rotation and posterior tilt of the scapula, which are both important for layback and just potentially creating more velocity. It should also help with shoulder horizontal abduction, which is this, or scapular traction. If we're in this position, it's really hard to retract the scap and to get that load. Some people call it scap load, but anyway, horizontal abduction is the technical term. So we want to work on that with the pivot pick off by feeling this action, and this is where we might go away from more of a traditional, where we start here and feel the arm spiral and work more in towards a natural arm path and almost like a wrong-footed throw, so that we can help the athlete bridge the gap between drill and actual arm action that he or she's going to use during the game. So for this one, we're going to start with the hands up a little higher. Excuse me. Feel the hands break and feel the hands stay above the elbow. So it'll be simple here, and throw against the wall. So as I do this, I'm going to speed up, and two, I'm going to create a greater range of motion. Probably in the opposite order. I'm going to create a greater range of motion first and then speed up. So I want to feel my elbow, I think for myself, my elbow driving back and down, and then feeling my shoulder blade really retract as I do this. So this is the motion that I like to feel when I'm doing this drill. That keeps me on time, so that when my arm gets up, my hand's above my elbow, and I'm getting more into a position where I can easily get an external rotation. I can get an external rotation, hold that drive line phase, and stay in that position. That lessens the load on the elbow as well. So I can get fully retracted, pull with the front side, rotate out of it, and feel my arm unravel. So when we start with these guys, we will have them start here. We'll have them do more of a traditional pivot pick off, so they feel that motion. And then as we get into it, we want to bridge the gap more to feel more of a elbow down and coming around like a full arm action.